Okay, so I'm going to talk about our intervention and our evaluation. For our intervention, we implemented flyers throughout the community. We made them very simple and easy to read. We also had them made in Spanish and English. These are the Spanish and the English. So on the flyers, we wanted to keep it as simple as possible. So we pretty much wrote, it's safe to call 911. And TPD has a policy that they do not check citizenship of victims. So if they call to report it, they aren't supposed to ask if they're legal or not. So we put that on there, and then we put the Spanish-speaking officers are available. Now there's only, I think like 28 Spanish-speaking officers in Tulsa out of like about 800, but they try to have some on each shift, and if not, they do the best that they can. So some resources I put on there were 911 for emergency. The Safe Line is a 24-hour hotline. It's not just for like report calls or anything, but it's for victim of domestic violence. So there's also the DVIS, which is for domestic violence intervention services they can call. They have the Parent and Child Center Crisis Line on there, and they also have a website where victims of violent crimes, they can go and read about their rights and additional services. They do have the anonymous tip line, which is 918-596-COPS, and that's like the Crime Stoppers. And so it's not 24 hours, but they can call and report a crime anonymously without being worried about having to be in trouble or anything. So they have also they have just the regular report call line, the non-emergency line, but they don't have necessarily Spanish-speaking officers for that. So the places we took them to were 81st and Lewis at the Walmart, 21st and Garnett at Morello's, which is a Hispanic market, Northside Quick Trip, and we also put some up throughout OSU campus on like the pin boards, and we took around 100 flyers in Spanish and English, and we just divided them throughout the first 3, not the OSU campus. I think we put like 3 up at OSU campus. So we didn't like hand them out actively because we didn't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable, and we know how private they are within their culture. So we either pinned them up or hung them, or we just left them out for people to take freely. So, and this is just something that Officer Guardiola gave us, and it's all in Spanish, and it has a lot of the same numbers as the ones on our flyers. So for our evaluation, since the Hispanic culture are very private and there's a language barrier that exists, we were unable to evaluate the effectiveness of the flyer to our target population. Another barrier was that we had limited time of our project to evaluate the evaluation. We had the ability to execute more of a longitudinal study if we did. We could partner with TPD to receive feedback and numbers of Hispanics who report crime and call and requesting Spanish-speaking officers, but we weren't able to do that. So I also spoke with Jennifer Rush, who is the Executive Director at Crime Prevention Network in Tulsa, and the Crime Prevention Network funds like Crime Stoppers if they offer like a reward. It varies on how much, but if you call, you can get like $1,000 reward for tips if it leads to an arrest. But they fund the money for the rewards. So anyways, she told me that just ideas for recommendations to help build a better outcome for reporting crime from Hispanics. She would recommend that Tulsa Police has a neighborhood coordinator for the crime prevention program from the Hispanic community that's trusted. So she said by having block captains or coordinators who feel comfortable to report to, they can be contacted by these who don't feel safe and to make a report on their behalf. Like she talked to how Crime Stoppers is a great way to report for those who don't feel safe or comfortable, but it's not 24 hours. And so she's like emphasized the importance on having something else, not just Jesse Guardiola. He is basically the one who goes out in the community right now and is contacted, but he's not available all the time for the Hispanic community. So we decided that a good way to have better contact with the Hispanic community for the police would be to have dispatch 24 hours at each division. There's 3 that are bilingual, that could be like at call line. And so that way, when someone has not necessarily an emergency, but they could call the number and, you know, trust whoever they're talking to, since they speak Spanish also. And so that way they could also have at least one Spanish speaking officer per area available to take the calls from dispatch. So but they also